you know.
Well, we're going live, kids.
Elijah, it's like me with pineapple on pizza. Call me judgmental, but no thanks. I don't even want to try. I see this. Like I follow you because pizza's so delicious, Elijah. Salty, cheesy, saucy
Mm.
goodness, and then you're like, pineapple, and you're, wait, what?
And here we are live on Triple T Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. And if things look a little different, that's because I'm coming to you live from, and oh my goodness, I've got this, I forgot that. Oh, I'm in Vegas, y'all. And I'm running on like no sleep. And I'm in one of the meeting rooms, and the lighting here is amazing for like a horror film. So if you're if you're wondering why I look like I'm Dr. Decepto or something, that's what we're dealing with here. But it is Triple T night for episode 185.
Wow.
85. Wow, who'd have thunk it?
That's
And I'm here at the Sahara in Vegas for Hypnothoughts Live 2025. I'll be presenting here this weekend, actually on Friday at 2 o'clock. So looking forward to that. And for all of you out on YouTube land, hi, Mom. I landed safely. Good to go. And while we're talking YouTube, if y'all could do me the YouTube favors that don't cost you anything but could really help me out, I would appreciate if all of you would click the subscribe button if you haven't already. And please go back and review some of the videos. Click the like button because we're getting a little shortish on the likes there. Feeling a little left out. Leave some comments too. If you like what you saw, leave a comment. If you didn't like what you saw, go to somebody else's profile and comment there. Kind of kidding, but kind of not. What else? We got website, and the website has had some changes again. Oh my goodness, it's like playing Where's Waldo? So if it's been a hot minute since you've been on the website, please drop in, take a look around, let me know what you think of it. It describes a little bit of what I do. And I say a little bit because I haven't had the time yet to list everything that I do, and I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you that I have some skills that I've picked up over the years, and I've got the ability to help a lot of people. I get the privilege of helping people with things like depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, grief. I offer corporate coaching, relationship work, all sorts of fun, cool stuff. So if there's some type of challenge you're up against or something that you would like to learn, I've got a lot of classes that I teach as well. In fact, when I get back home to Texas on the 26th, I will be teaching my stage and public speaking class. So got that coming up as well. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. That's your opportunity for chatting with me for 30 minutes at no charge whatsoever. That's right, free to you. Do it today, don't delay, and all those good things. And we will get a chance to see if what you are up against is something that I can help you with. And I promise you, if I believe that I can help you, I'll let you know. And if I believe we're not a fit, I will also let you know, and I will do my best to help you find somebody that will be able to help you, because the main goal is to get you the help that you are looking for. We're still introducing ties. So this time It is one of my all-time favorites. Man, I tell you what, every time that I've had to have this thing cleaned, I went into anxiety over whether or not it was going to come back in one piece. But my favorite travel tie, the amount of compliments I get on this thing is crazy because everybody just seems to love the fact that I got a little poo on my tie. And I'm okay with it. And I typically, I don't know if I'll be able to get a good shot of this or not, my favorite little tie clasp.
You need to get one that has squirrels doing that. Just saying. Feel like we can track this down on Etsy, boys and girls.
That would be epic. Speaking of squirrels, if this is your first time joining or watching Triple T, yes, I take questions, but those questions are typically my squirrels have squirrels who know squirrels who bring squirrels to the table. So at any point in time, I could chase a squirrel and we could end up in a completely different topic. That being said, who's got a good squirrel? Who's got a good story? What's happened since we were together 7 beautiful days ago? Anything to share? Lenora's got her hand up.
I am very excited. I'm going to share something that I've been working on for months and months with a colleague of mine. My website has been updated, and not only has it been updated, it was updated properly by a incredible marketer. His name is Drew Donaldson, and I will happily share his information with anyone and everyone because I could not be more ecstatic about my new homepage. Some of the other links are still under construction, but the main one is incredible. So I'm super, super stoked. Check it out.
Super cool. And how do people find that website out on the web?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that, TJ. It is driventobebetter.com.
driventobebetter.com. Well,
Very.
anybody else got anything cool that they would like to share from the last 7 days? There, I was about to say, Michael, what you got?
All right, I got one thing, TJ, and thank you for your help as well. Tomorrow, I'm going to send out a mass text or start the process of sending out a mass text and email and a whole barrage of requests reaching out to expand Lunch Money Club. And thank you for the verbiage and helping me create a nice text and email. I also did a little video with that and I've added it, so I'm going to tweak it and get it going.
Very cool. Looking forward to seeing it, my man.
Appreciate you.
And where might they go to take a shortcut to get right there?
Lunchmoneyclub.com, and the special that we're running right now, and it's only going to be for the first 1,000 people, is $10 for life. So you just scroll all the way down to the bottom under the items, and you can sign up for $10 a month for life.
Well, you can save that in one click.
You can save that in one click, if not 10 times that.
Yes, lunchmoneyclub.com. Check it out, check it out.
Currently up here in the Portland area at Hag Lake.
Wow.
On vacation, heading to Northern California in a couple of days and then back down to San Diego.
This is awesome. Episode 185. Half of us are not even home.
Yes. And Mark, you look fantastic. Where in the heck are you at?
I'm mute.
There he goes.
I'm in Chatham, Mass.
There we go.
Wow.
Family. Yeah, where we've got a nice house near the beach, and we've been enjoying all the the amenities still, we just had a lobster boil tonight. So yeah,
You look
doing
like a race
doing
car driver. I love it.
yeah.
Super cool.
Get my it's all about the family though. Getting ourselves together. Again, I think it's again it's very healthy to renew old bonds and stuff.
Yep.
We've had we've had a lot of visitors this weekend. My nephew and his family, and my daughter's here with us with her husband and family, and other family have stopped by. So it's been a great run so far.
Very
So
cool. Making memories.
good.
Well, if anybody else, otherwise, we'll get this rolling. If this is your first time joining us for Triple T or your first time watching one of the recordings, the way Triple T works is for the first hour, we will do the best we can to get through three topics. And I say the best we can because what, the last 4 or 5 times, we've made it through like one topic, which is fine with me. We had lots of interaction, some really good stuff going on. And then the second hour is open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can join in, ask a question, bring up a topic. And I let everybody on the call answer first, which is why we would like to have as many people on the call as possible. If you're watching this recording, join us, please. You don't even have to know how to spell NLP. But that being said, let's dive right in. Tonight's topics are, drum roll please, to win, who are you, and headaches. And diving right in, to win, I thought this was appropriate being in Sin City, Vegas, the epicenter of gambling. And one of the concepts that had been brought up to me a while back was the question, are you playing to win or are you playing not to lose? Which sounds kind of like, but when you start really thinking about it, how many times are people playing not to lose? Playing it safe, all the above, and there's so many different applications that this concept can be applied to. In fact, part of why I brought it up is one of my Triple P, the Perfect Partner Protocol clients, I recognized a pattern when they were looking for people for their partner. They were basically playing not to lose. And it had been a pattern for quite a while, which had kept them stuck in a number of relationships that they stayed in a little too long, we'll say. Because, again, they were playing not to lose. As they were working through the Triple P protocol, they noticed a shift in how they approached the concept of finding their partner. And they went from playing not to lose to playing to win, straight out. And in that shift, their approach was a lot different. And suddenly the results were different as well. So I'm curious, anybody out there got any ahas, epiphanies, questions on the concepts between playing to win and playing to not lose? Michael.
I put it in the chat and it went spelled garage. There was a movie called Gattaca, and Gattaca was a futuristic movie where people were bred based on their genetic makeup for a job. And it was about two brothers, and one was taller than the other, and the one who was shorter wanted to be a scientist and become an astronaut, but he didn't have the genetic makeup. And he'd get in a competition with his brother, and they would swim out in a lake, and his older, bigger brother always beat him. They separated for about 6 years, and they reconnected and went swimming. And now the younger, shorter brother completely wiped the older brother off the map in the race. And what it was is the older brother started to drown, and the younger brother turned around and rescued him and swam him back to shore. And he says, "How did you do that? How did you finally beat me? What did you do?" I didn't save any energy to come back. So he put everything out to go one way, all in. So anyway, gotta
Yeah,
go all in.
exactly. Joshua.
Asking this question for myself, also for many people who may not necessarily know or be able to relate to the statement as presented. I was just curious, without asking for your secret sauce, was wondering if you might give an example of the play to win and playing not to lose in relationship context.
In relationship context, if you're playing not to lose, you'll tend to hold on and try to fix the situation. You'll hold on to a partner probably longer than you should. You'll probably paint red flags pink. We covered that a couple of episodes ago. Because you're playing not to lose. Versus the person who's playing to win. One of the examples that I use, if you're looking for a king or a queen, and the metaphor I use is a deck of cards. In a deck of cards, how many kings are there? 4. How many queens are there? How many 2s? 5s? All the above, yes. So when you're playing to win, your goal is to recognize what card you're dealing with as quickly as possible and flip those cards as quick as you can to get to the king or the queen, because you're playing to win. Yep, go ahead.
As a refinement, so flipping the cards. So I'm not sure how to preface the question, so I'll just throw out the thing that I experienced and then see like what the response would be.
Yep.
But I had once was speaking to a dating coach, not within the client, coach relationship, but just as a casual conversation with somebody who turned out to be a coach.
Yep.
And I listened to her for a little bit, and she said some things, and I was like, oh, so you're basically saying like play law of big numbers. And she's like, no, it's not a numbers game. And I'm like, that's just what you just said. And so my question is like, if I'm to be flipping cards, I guess from a grace and nuance point, well, no, not even from grace and nuance. I'm gonna just go with like blunt statistics. 80% of men out there are getting slaughtered in the dating environment. And it's not a case of flip cards as fast as you can, because they might get like one a decade. So I guess the question would be is where do you suppose that inflection point is between trying to take a fixer-upper and making it work? And I think everybody reasonably understands, like if somebody's like first date, they're out there slashing your tires, probably not need to fix that, just need to move on. It's like, but at what point, would you give grace and clemency for someone just like possibly having a bad day? Like, would you say like basically by the third date you should be able to figure that out, or is that like a 10th date like kind of thing, or are we talking like the moment they perform their yoga, which is put both feet in their mouth like I do, then that's a wrap, or like when do we stop giving that grace or clemency?
that's where the triple P has a lot of components to it on purpose because of people like myself creating habits and values and criterias that we set up as young adults, like teenagers. And so the flipping the cards isn't, oh my gosh, you're not a queen or a king, you toss it away. It's one of the main parts of triple P is activity partners. Getting the opportunity, you don't call it a date, you don't, one of the things my clients have to agree to do the triple P protocol is when we start, they have a 1 year moratorium against a committed relationship, which I love gets that first pushback. They're like, oh my gosh, a whole year? I mean, I came to you to find somebody, and now I gotta wait it. I'm like, time's gonna pass anyway. But when you take that pressure off, now you're playing to win, not playing to not lose.
Okay.
And so you start looking at these people differently. And one of the things I tell them when we're using the deck of cards metaphor is you find out they're a 7. That doesn't mean you throw it in the trash. A 7 is worth having around. If you take the idea of a kingdom, there will only be one king, one queen. But the kingdom still needs plumbers, mechanics, cooks, entertainers, people of that nature. So while you're going out meeting people and your ABT, always be testing, and you're not looking for are you the queen or are you not? It's where do you fit? Are you a 10? Are you a 9? Are you a jack? We can be friends. I've got plenty of friends that are 7s and above. When I'm playing to win, I keep looking. The tendency again for playing not to lose is when most people will go, yeah, they're a 10, but man, they're good looking. And, they've got well, what about the red flags? Well, I can probably live with that. I can change them. I'm up for a good project. And so that was part of how I was able to get my clients to be able to not rush in and create the completed Hallmark movie right away. Oh, they're amazing. They're wonderful. They're showing me the most beautiful mask I've ever seen. It's a mask.
I know there's some other hands up. I do kind of have a follow-up question with that. So I would like to, should I offer this question now or wait? Because I'd like the others to get their turn to speak too.
That's up to you. I don't know the question, or you got it written down?
Yeah, I can write it down.
Okay, write it down. We'll see. Your question might be answered by one of the other two. Lenora.
I like this question, especially play to win, because there is such a different dynamic. And if we're going to relationships, I can vividly remember what I was thinking and what I was doing when I was dating my ex-boyfriend versus shifting into okay, now I'm looking for somebody that I truly want to invest my time with, invest my life with. And the difference was I was 22 at the time, and I turned 23, and I met my husband at 23. And there was quite literally a difference, as in the approach. You really are playing to be successful at it. So even as somebody who owns a business, what do I need to do, not to skate by, not just to kind of like hold it down, but what do I need to do to excel? What do I need to do? Who do I need to become? It really shifts the perspective. Even if you look at it on a day-to-day basis, how can I win the day? What does that look like? And you take a totally different approach versus I'm just going to get through the day. So I really like the perspective on winning.
Great input. And because because of the book that you wrote, one of my squirrels just held up a big billboard.
Yeah.
When it comes to food, yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
playing to win or playing not to lose, it just struck me, playing not to lose would be a diet.
Mhm.
Playing to win would be a complete lifestyle change.
Very much so. Yeah.
I'm
I love
gonna,
it.
you know, I'm gonna play not to lose, so I'm gonna try this diet, and then I'll try this other diet, and then I'll try this other diet.
The difference, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The difference, I think, is if you're working to lose weight versus live in your body and to take care of your body and to say, this is the only vehicle I have. There's no, I can't just like start sewing pieces of other bodies onto me. Sure, I can get knee replacements if needed, but this is the main vehicle, and I want to live in my body. When I shift, and I will tell you all of this happily and share this very awful truth. I used to look at working out as a way to lose weight. Can be very, very, very hurtful, because if you're looking at it as a way to lose weight, then that must mean I'm fat and I need to lose weight. You will effectively avoid that. Versus, I'm working out because I really want to take care of my body. I know that this is a totally different shift because I want to be able to move in my body. I want to feel good in my body. I want to give my body great nutrition so that I can feel better, even better in my body. The better I invest in my health, the better I invest in taking care of me. I'm setting myself up to win, not just to get by, to win.
Exactly. Holly.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yep.
So two comments. The first one is this conversation reminds me of a dream I once had that I made this YouTube video. And so if you're in Vegas, there is a way to basically guarantee you're going to win. What is that way? Well, in the video, the answer that came up is, leave the house. And so like the video basically said, everything will change when you realize you always have the choice to be the house. But also remember, the house doesn't win on one bet. The reason they win is because they keep going out there and betting and betting and betting. And as long as they bet enough times, they're guaranteed to win. So anyway, that's the first comment. The second comment, so we kind of had a conversation about, how long is it going to take you for you to realize, this person is my queen or this person is a two, that sort of question. And the thought that came in mind, well, first of all, my thought is, you're looking for your king or your queen, but keep in mind you're not looking for your unicorn card. There is a unicorn card in the deck. The second point, of course, is it's been said before, and need to work on this for myself especially, but what kind of person would your king or queen want to be with? And are you that person? And what can you do to become more like that person? But the other point is, if you want to know who that person is, you need to know who you're looking for, what matters, and also the more action you take to look to see if that person's that matches your criteria. If you know what you're looking for and how to test for it, you can find out very, very quickly.
There.
you have no clue what you're looking for and you're making no effort to test for it
Yep.
years later before you realize. So, little things like, let's say you want somebody who is respects a budget. So you've got that on your list. You go out on, your first date, very easy. You use the three magic questions. You start talking about stories of budgets and when you were tempted to miss your budget and see what comes up. Just as one example, you could have a million different examples on that. But yeah, so know what you're looking for and look for signs that they actually meet that. And if you can, ask those questions early in the most pleasant way possible using three magic questions, echo technique, all of those things that we know to use. They will disclose pretty quickly.
Exactly. Which you described a good portion of triple P right there. And when I tell them that my clients that they're going to have some homework to do, that they have to have some journals, and one is going to be my person, and you have to describe every single detail you can think of to whatever, however broad and however minute you can come up with. They're like, oh, isn't that a little like, isn't that going to make it kind of harder? I went, no, it actually makes it easier in the testing part. If you had the opportunity to get one vehicle that you get to drive for the rest of your life, would you simply go to Carvana and just go, give me a vehicle? Or would you, well, you're like, well, of course not. I would want a car, two-door or four-door. Well, two-door. What color? And I start running down and I'm like, if there were no limitations on options, would you take a little extra time to think about what you wanted in that vehicle? And why? I'll challenge people. I'm like, are you looking for a Ferrari or a jacked up four-wheel drive or a Mercedes convertible? And you also have to keep in mind the payments and the maintenance. Ferraris are nice, but they come with some high price tags. And you better be able to pay the maintenance and the insurance and the storage and all the above. So, Mark.
Yeah, I was thinking about Joshua's question about, relationships and, it's really at the core, it's about finding someone who you're compatible with. And we have the, criteria and values that need to be compatible, and you need to be always testing. So it's not really the first date or the 10th date. It's, is this person, do we have similar criteria and values? That's what we should be testing for. And, to string it all together, it's about compatibility. But when you look at who you are, you gotta, when you start to play to win, that, again, if you've been a person that's playing not to lose, that's gonna manifest in all kinds of different, areas of your life if you start to play to win. And I think, among others on the podcast, but I'm thinking about Lenora when she started to play to win, everything in her life changed. So, when you play, so you got to look at how are you playing not to lose, or you're playing to win? And when you start to play to win, well, then how you do one thing is how you do everything, Joshua. So,
Yeah.
when you start to play to win, that's going to manifest itself in so many different ways, you know. So yeah, but we gotta be, but you know, again, in relationship, it's got to be compatibility. You know, again, what's on the outside is nice, but it's what's on the inside that will determine compatibility.
And I'm glad you brought that up. And it also enforces when I tell my clients, it becomes R&D, research and development, but you're researching humans and developing yourself, which leads to an amazing little phenomena that you guys have heard me talk about many times. It's been quite a pattern with my clients who have gone through Triple P. About 3 months in, what happens? I met the most amazing person. Oh! And I'm like, yeah, that's nice, but hold on. Because they're developing themselves so rapidly with the work that we're doing, pretty soon it doesn't take long before they look at that amazing person. And with the testing, always be testing, they're like, yeah, they're amazing, but they're not the one. The best so far. Yes, they're the best so far. 3 months later, what happens again? Oh, I met somebody amazing. A couple weeks later, yeah, they're the best so far. Because my clients are changing and evolving so quickly. Because I get them to play to win, not play to not lose. Joshua, still got your question written down?
Yes, sir. And kind of generated some more as we went. So for everyone else here, I want to clarify some things. First, I'm not just asking these questions for me. I am a test engineer.
Yes.
Believe it when I say I am always testing. I have done thousands of hours of research. I broke down like my needs complex into an Excel spreadsheet that automatically calculates. I could have a 10-minute conversation with you and trip off some X's, and I can figure out our compatibility rate, to which I figured that my ultimate or ideal marriage partner would be somewhere around 84% in accordance with that matrix, where more than that would be a mutually inclusive environment, and outside of that, we'd be a falling away environment. So I'm not just asking for me.
Yeah.
So second to that, I'm asking because not everyone here especially even knows what Echo Protocol is, like me. I know that it's come up a couple times, and that's, so that is a follow-up question that I have. But I'm also asking the question because there's a massive difference in the experience between men and women in dating. So for example, I am not in question about the caliber of man that I am, as pretentious as that sounds. I'm also not looking. I have no issue with if I'm worth something or what I bring to the table. I'm not asking at all. Therefore, it's not happening, right? We don't live in a society where women are like, hey, there's a catch, I'm gonna go get him, right? What she'll try to do is be in the way and be like, my handkerchief, whoopsie, I dropped it, but she does it in a cool new, societal ways. And the Joshua just don't care. So he keeps on rolling, right? So but I don't have the usual experience that men do. And a lot of people come and ask me this stuff because apparently I present as a strong masculine dude. And a lot of people are like, you got to help me, man. You clearly have all of the success and I need to know. And I'm like, dude, I don't have a glass belly button. Can't see where I'm going because my head's up my bum. I don't know why you're asking me. But that being said, I bring some of these questions up because I meet a ton of people. Take care, Mark.
See you, Mark. Thanks for showing up, brother.
All right, later.
Fam, thanks for sharing you with us for a little bit.
And so one of the, basically the question set that I'm asking is even before you're in the part where you're always testing, right? Because that assumes that you have something to test. And the experience for most men is they don't have that, right? So like for example, I did online dating, I want to say for like 5 years. I feel like I did pretty well. I sent, on eHarmony when I was on it, I sent out about 6,000 messages that resulted in about 100 replies that resulted in 6 first dates and 0 second dates. That beats the statistics by a large margin, right? And that is not the experience that women have. You can take a picture of me, beard and all. I could go roll in the mud, right? and do the Photoshop to make it look like a woman, and that person will be swimming in invites immediately. I've seen it where they've taken a piece of pizza and turned it into a woman, and that profile is getting hits like crazy. Like,
Yep.
I want to say like 1,000 in the first 5 minutes or something. It's wild. Like, so we got to split that out, right? Like, and that's for all them dudes out there that are super frustrated, don't know how to engage, don't know where to engage, and things like that. And so to that, like, that's why I make that delineation, right? So like, I have nothing against the advice structure that's been offered, and I'm not rebuffing it in any way. But what I'm saying is we're not to that part of the question yet. There's a lot of dudes out there that are like, I don't know, I feel like I'm invisible when I walk around, right? Like, I'm not even treated as a person. So that was where my first question was geared towards. Now, where I'm at, some of the feedback that I've gotten, and I would offer it like this. You know, have you ever sat down to a date? Like, I mean, the moment my butt hits the chair, the girl's like, how much money do you make? And you're like, all right, thanks for your time, right? I don't have a problem with boundaries. I have a problem with, like, what the hell am I doing? Like, what is this, right? Like, it keeps showing up, and it's like, how much money do you make? What's your politics? Like, what religion are you, or whatever? And it's like, you saw all of that on the profile, right? Like, what? Like, I'm sitting down to an interrogation. This isn't a date, and that's certainly not fun, right? So the question I would have is, my response to that is that I was just like, you know, I'm clearly running into something. I'm the least common denominator, right? So I'm provoking something. This is me. What do I need to do about that? And I stopped worrying about the dating environment and started worrying about figuring out where, like, I'm making, you know, I'm encouraging this behavior, or what about me is drawing these kinds of questions. In the meantime, what I get a lot of is I meet girls, and usually if you find a girl who's single or whatever, she's got about 10 orbiters. And so the most common feedback that I get is, well, you didn't pull the trigger fast enough. So my question is my response was, well, I want activity partners. I didn't use that word. So I would be like, hey, let's go get a coffee date. If we're vibing, I've got 6 activities, you know, that as first date options we could go do. So, you know, if we get coffee and we don't vibe, hey, it's no harm, no foul. Like, you know, you can get on with your day. I'm not going to waste your day. But if we do vibe, how about these, like, 6 things? And it can be like, we can go to the zip line park, we can go to the aquarium, we can go, like, you know, roller skating, like ice skating, like whatever it is, like, you know, have like 6 options. And then, hey, if we're still vibing, let's get dinner. And then after that, let's figure out what's going on. I like to give them that bottom line up front. Yep. Right. But universally, it's that you didn't pull the trigger fast enough. You'll find out that they had like 8 other dates lined up, and I just didn't drive a Ferrari or whatever it was. Like, okay, fine. I understand also that in the context of doing the internal work, that they're not my person. So I don't cry over that spilt milk. But I'm not like most dudes. So there's a lot of dudes out there that get kind of hemmed up on that. They're like, I had, you know, I think I was reading something once where, like, the average male user experience on Tinder is something to the effect of 33,000 swipes, leading to, at best, about 12,000, you know, initial messages or mutual swipes that lead to something around 5 to 10 first dates, maybe 2 second dates, and not usually a relationship. So, you know, for guys, it's not as easy to even get to that part where we're testing.
Yeah.
But I will confirm to say that, independent of Triple T here, I found my best success in, like, meetup groups, but I went to the meetup group specifically with that out of my mind. I wasn't going to meet anyone. Like, I was just going to experience life.
Yep.
You know, because, and this is, I've said, because other guys have asked me, like, well, what would you recommend I do? And I'm like, so I'll tell them, you know, the things I've been successful on. But I'm like, here's a trick. You got a divorce in your mind. You can't be going out there looking for girls, man. Girls are savvy. They see that shit from a mile away. And they're going to know. If you show up looking for girls, they're going to be like, that's the guy to avoid. And I made a joke, and I'm sorry I'm going along with this, but I made a joke in the meetup group talking to a couple of my friends. I was like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if these girls got like a little message group on the side where they're like basically talking about these different guys that come in, like, that guy's a creeper, that guy's a this. And wouldn't you know, man, I was right. But because I came in and was just treating people like people, I didn't give anyone any special treatment or whatever else like that. I was just, you know, I introduced myself, I occupied my space. And then when the event was done, I wished everyone well and went on my way. But I was that guy that they were talking about. They're like, what is his story? We got to know, you know? But anyway, so the question, getting back to it, is pull the trigger time versus friend zoning yourself versus optionality. That's basically why I was asking that first set of questions.
Well, you brought up a very important part of Triple P. That's why I have my clients go 1 year without being in a committed relationship. It switches the energy. When you go, and I've recommended meetups all the time. That's where I met my wife.
Oh, cool.
Because it's a group activity, and you said it perfectly, Joshua. If you show up to the meetups and you're like, oh my God, are you the one? Oh, you're breathing. Are you the one? You're kind of cute. Could you be the one?
You're breathing. Holy shit.
And they're like, uh, uh. And you and I show up and we're like, hey, what's going on? Is this a party? We're having fun. This is a great activity. Hi, nice to meet you. How you doing? By the way, what's your name? What are you up to? Da 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 da. And the questions aren't the interrogation questions. They're basically, I would like to know who you are. And then you leave the event early alone, and they're like, you're leaving? Yeah, I got stuff I got to do. But it was great meeting you. Well, you didn't even ask for my phone number. Well, I'll see you here again. I'll be coming back. And that's the part of where I'm telling them, if you're in it to win, that year goes by uber quick. And you meet a lot of really cool people on the way. But you also meet a lot of lessons along the way. I got a client right now that, let's just say they met somebody amazing who is actually candy-coated psychosis. And now they're dealing with and yeah, you're right, I went into it a little strong, because I went into it to not lose.
Okay.
And I said, if you just went in it to win, just spend time. They're going to show it anyway, but the energy will be a different context. Time's going to pass. Regardless. Lenora, you had your hand up. Did I just, you're like, I was waiting.
No. It's a very interesting topic. It's a very interesting perspective, very interesting conversation. I don't necessarily think every man that goes into the dating world is having a great experience, and that just a handful of people that I know aren't having a great experience. And I don't necessarily think that every woman is having a great experience.
Exactly.
It's not like, oh, one has it easier than another.
No.
Yes, everybody's having a different experience. Very specifically for me, I don't know. There are certain things in my life where I thought there's no other alternative. As in, for example, when I had reached out and started working with professionals, my alternative was going to be not a good situation. If you start to navigate through life going, well, I could be with somebody, but I don't know if I want to be with somebody, kind of go back and forth. It to me helps define what you would like. If you're like, no, I'd really like to have somebody. Okay, cool. Now you chose a side, and then you can proceed. If it goes back and forth of, no, I don't want to be with somebody. Yeah, I want to be with somebody. No, I don't want to be with somebody. I could see where the inconsistency of being stable in that vibration occurs. Once I settled on the fact of, like, for example, doing this kind of work, there was no other option. I was going to do this kind of work. And even still, there are plenty of people that'll tell you, this is the only thing that she thinks about. She wakes up thinking about it. She goes to sleep thinking about it. This is the only thing that she thinks about. It's not a back and forth. It's a, until this happens, I will bide my time over here until this happens. So I think perhaps deciding if it's something you definitely want might be just that one step forward that people might benefit from.
Yep, exactly. And again, this is, I think, I believe this concept is so cross-contextual into so many different things. Yes, we've highlighted the relationships and the triple P and that stuff, but again, lifestyle and diets or financial. When you look at your financials, are you playing to win or are you playing not to lose? When you're in sports, are you playing to win? Or are you playing not to lose? And it's a very important mindset to analyze, because I get a lot of people that their knee-jerk reaction, of course, is, well, I'm playing to win. Until you start analyzing the approach that they're using, and they're clearly playing to not lose. And it's that realization, that perspective, that often is the switch that gets them to change their habits, the way they approach the whole concept. Joshua.
Oh, I was already unmuted. Okay, so I got one question for Holly, and then two for everyone. So the question I had to Holly, she mentioned the big three questions, and I was just, again, I don't know if that's like a secret sauce question, but I was curious
Three
as to what
magic
those.
questions.
Yeah, because I don't know what those are. And then the question I had for you, TJ, is, well, besides which, thank you everyone for listening and engaging with this, because like I've just had questions. It's nice to get some answers and sort of figure out where I'm at in the process.
Yep.
But so my question for you, TJ, with this is, it sounds to me like what you were talking about with triple P is what I have come to understand as the season of no. And I learned that term from, I think his name, I might be saying it wrong, but Alex Hormozy or something. I saw a video of his on YouTube or something, but he was talking about the season of no. And that's like, it's something I don't usually describe to people, but it's like why I live in tiny house down by the river and I've been getting rid of all my stuff and doing all those things is because I'm doing that. I'm purging everything. If someone's like, hey, I really like you, I'm like, cool, but no, like, and and I'm not trying to slam the door in people's faces. I'm just like, look, I'm trying to, I got a whole lot of, data and crap kicking around my head, and some of it's not super helpful. And I got stuff in my life that also needs to go. Like, I want to clean myself out completely, and then we'll see. We'll take an assessment right after that. And one of the examples of information in my head that's not necessarily helpful is, and I know this is hemming up a lot of other guys too, is that there was a thing that came out. It was basically something like find your ideal partner, right? And it drew data from the U.S. Department of Census and health departments. And there's some caveats to that where it's like for example, what is obesity, right? And I think a couple weeks ago we had talked about like BMI standards and stuff like that are ridiculous, right? Like at 5'10", which I'm 225 pounds with a 34-inch waist. I look like I should weigh 180, but I'm just super heavy, right? But like I flag as 48% body fat or something like that. And I'm like, okay, good luck finding it. But like, so I understand on the U.S. Department, census information, I would appear as someone who is obese, right? But what I'm saying is, there's a difference. Like when we talk about values and criteria, there's other things in play too, right? So like, for example, when I went onto that site and I checked those check boxes, I was like, I will date if she breathes, right, she could be 4'8" to 11 feet tall or whatever it was. You know, that like my only like hard nose, right? Any ethnicity or whatever didn't matter to me. Any income strata didn't matter to me, right? But basically, I was doing it to figure out like which ones would affect the population or my percent chance of finding said ideal partner. And what I found is basically the only three that really mattered was if she had kids, if she made more than $0, and if she was married. And when I checked those three boxes, as in she has to be single, right? I'm not trying to date married women. That's not like that. That violates my own values. But it's like if she's married, or if she's not married, excuse me, that she has kids and makes more than $0. As I was like, I don't want to date single moms. Got nothing against them. I just didn't want to do that. And I would like that she makes some money. She doesn't have to. Like, you know, like I do believe in that, you know, being a provider protector thing, but you know, I also don't want to be her cage, right? So if she has some feels about needing to make money, great, let's work together and figure out like how we're going to do that. But just by clicking those three boxes, my chances of finding that ideal girl within U.S. Department of Census and Medical Data was 0.7%, right? And you're like, wow. Like, so, I mean, if I meet 100 women, I don't even meet one who is like available, doesn't have kids, and makes more than $0. Like that to me is crazy, right? That means I'm gonna be digging through a whole lot of junk, right? And as I've also come to find out, again, with guys, when we ask women out, we suffer about a 96 or 98% rejection rate. But when women ask men out, they suffer a 98.2 or something like that acceptance rate. Yeah. So again, we're doing things backwards. Like I understand that there's like a societal pressure. No one likes to be rejected. I get it, but like, wow. So anyway, part of the reason I'm asking this stuff and I'm pushing on these little points and I'm trying to understand where everyone's coming from is because that would be an example of unhelpful information, right? If I walk around with this idea of like, man, there's less than a 1% chance that any girl I'm going to meet is worth a shit, and I'm just being like ridiculous in my presentation. But like, if I say that and I've got that rocking around in my head, then basically I'm not even treating a woman as a whole person when I'm looking through that lens, right? That she could meet those things, right? And so that's part of the internal work. So I sequester myself away, and I just using forging principles, heat myself up and let this scum come out of my system, and I scrape it off so I can become a more pure, you know, alloy. But, you know, it's important to be able to have this dialogue, especially for the dudes that are struggling. So thank you for that.
And that's why my clients are getting results, because it's not just me saying, write down a few things you're looking for and go get them, tiger. It is research and development. It's researching into understanding your values and criteria. What is important to you? And developing yourself into being the perfect partner for the one that you just described. That when I came up with Triple P for me, I didn't get the 1-year moratorium off of some lecture or something or in Instagram. I came up with that on my own for myself, and that's what helped me when I went to the meetups. I told myself straight out, I ain't gonna be in a relationship for a year. And of course, that's like you described, Joshua, that's where the ladies were like, you got a different energy. You mean you're not trying to date me? Like you're not, what? Yeah, the energy shifted. And so that's, again, and again, here we are at the top of the hour, one topic in, whoosh, yes. I'm going to continue doing 3 topics just in case But we're running a pretty good streak of making it in one topic. That brings us to the second hour. For those of you that are watching, if you just joined or you joined late and you're wondering why I look like Bela Lugosi or something from some type of horror film, I'm in Vegas at HypnoThoughts Live 2025, and I'm in one of our meeting rooms, and the lighting in here is atrocious. But it's the quietest place that I could get into before I finally get my room. So here we are. And it is time for hour number 2 of Triple T. This is where the magic happens. Anybody on the call gets to bring up a topic. I just saw Elijah's comment, half a topic. Yeah, some days. But on this one, anybody on the call can bring up a question or a topic. And in the second hour, I let everybody on the call answer first. And then if I feel there's anything else that I can add to it, that's when I give my 2 centavos. And we're going to be short one more person because Lenora's got to bounce as well. So,
I'm sorry, all of you. I appreciate you and you make my life better. So I can't wait to watch the second hour. And to those of you who are going to HDL, I will see you.
all right. Have a
Night,
great
everyone.
night. Safe
Bye.
travels.
Thank you.
Okay, so it is the second hour. Who's got a question or a topic to bring up? Holly. And I've got somebody trying to beat down the door, so if you can go ahead, Holly, I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, I don't know if we'll be revisiting the second half of our first hour topic, but I actually have 2 questions I'm debating between. I think we're going to go with for those who are on the call, and it may not be a ton of us, but what strategies do you use to find paying clients that aren't like friends or family? And specifically finding them, not talking them into actually buying your service, but just how do you find them? How do you go to a place where they're able to find you?
Holly, I'm currently using Facebook advertising is how we're doing it.
Cool. Out of curiosity, like what's your budget for that? How do you
It varies, and you can do as little as like $5 a day. And you can put in your criteria, what you're looking for specifically, and it will target different angles, whatever you're looking for.
Cool.
So I'll send you a little message on my thing so you can take a look at what we built. And we created a funnel. It's called the closercode.net. And then things for cruises. And then cruises discount, things like that. So I'll send you a couple of those on Facebook so you can see them.
Awesome. Thank you.
You got it.
And I missed the question. What's the question, the topic?
So the one I'm starting with is how do people find paying clients who aren't, family and friends, basically?
Oh, yes. Great question. Joshua's got his hand up.
Yes, I do. Holly, I just wanted to ask a refinement question real quick. Are you asking just for general curiosity, or are you asking specifically, and I hope this wouldn't be offensive, just because you're getting started and didn't know? Because I don't want to talk at you like if you already know this stuff, I'm not trying to just,
I would say a combination of both. Kind of want general stuff for everybody to be helped by, but also at the same time, I am getting started and don't have a clue. So feel free to talk to me as much of a beginner as possible.
Oh, sweet. All right, then. Well, I know some people that go through LinkedIn for stuff like that. So depending on what it is that your offer is, There's a bunch of different techniques to go through LinkedIn. I'm not sure of how to do that myself. I can point you in the direction of a couple of folks that I know that do that. I know some folks use search engine optimization, SEO. And so like they'll do that in order to appear in the first couple of pages on Google or something like that for their area, and they'll start with that. Like, and then they'll go to like state, their area, their county, then they'll go to like the state. I know there's a couple of TEDx talks for people that spoke that do that kind of stuff. My recommendation would be if you look up Michael Fleischner, he just gave a TEDx talk last year, not this last April, but the year before that. Really solid guy. I've known him for a while. He's real good at the SEO side, and I believe he also knows some stuff with LinkedIn. And then some people will set up the process funnels, like what Michael said with Facebook advertising, and they'll use things like that. So like things on TikTok or Instagram, any of the socials or whatever, and it'll move people to your process funnel. And in that process funnel, part of that process is screening people to find basically your ideal client. So you protect yourself from getting a lot of like people just randomly being curious or there's a lot of turds out there, and they like to just jump in there and nag you and ask a bunch of dumbass questions. But your process funnel would be set up and robust enough to screen a lot of that out. Like there's like a 4 or 5 step process. So like step 1 will just be, hitting your demographic. The next step will be providing interest. And the way that I know some people do that is they'll do like a 15 or a 20-minute instructional video. And then, and that instructional video will be an introduction to you as a person, to your offer, and basically kind of soft seeding them to be able to move into the next components of the process funnel, which would then be more specific, gearing up towards a client intake call. And then some tips and techniques that I've picked up along the way, although I'm not in business, I don't do this stuff, but I take a lot of notes, as you guys have seen. And so one of the things that I've seen with that is sometimes people will give an offer. Like, so let's say you were in website design. You might give somebody a free, like 1 to 2 page. I don't know much about the website design stuff, but so just bear with me if the numbers sound wonky. But they'd be like, just offer these people a free basic website, right? And then like, the website be good and everything else like that. And then you offer also, hey, for this much a month, I'll also maintain your page and update the links and keep everything current and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm not sure how that could apply to different fields of business, but if you have something you can give away for free, a lot of times that'll attract people, and it'll also let them kind of understand how your mind works and build up a certain resonance with you. And then you have the tiered step up offers that have the continual revenue. So that's, I think, about as much as I know about all this. So I'm gonna shut up.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Holly?
It helped a lot. I mean, obviously, if anybody wants to add even more, that would be great, but definitely great answer so far.
Cool. And there's so much to that topic. Actually, Gary Vaynerchuk is another good person to follow in that department. He has a lot of really good insights and suggestions for that. And I believe on social media he goes by Gary V, V-E-E, or just Gary V alone. So, anybody
Mind
else?
if I make a joke about myself, TJ?
My mom's watching, so go
Oh,
ahead.
sure. I don't know why girls don't want to date me. Anyway, I'm done. eating my microwave vegetables out of a beer stein. Yeah, I'm living my best life. Don't worry about it.
From one batch to another, man. I've done crazier stuff. So believe me.
There's salmon though. I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, even my mother would, even mom would agree, right, mom? But that leaves us, who's got another question? We got lots of time. Let's see how fast this one goes. Holly,
Well, if nobody else is going to jump in immediately, I've got a second
please.
question. I know we've kind of covered this before, but I'm going to ask it again. For those of us who are going through a phase of our life where we really are struggling to find any why, just because of, overwhelm, dissociation, that sort of thing, what are your recommendations for finding a why that actually lights you up again?
Ooh, great question. Who's got some answers for that? Come on, kids. You guys get to answer first, so who's got an answer for that?
How do you want to feel?
Yes.
Interesting question. Can you elaborate on that?
I thought it was pretty self-explanatory. I don't really know how else to put it. How would you like to feel?
Interesting when you ask that question. For me, all that keeps coming up is how I don't want to feel.
Okay, so continue with that. Maybe go through an entire list, process of elimination, and then what's left over.
Okay.
And then you find the feeling. If I want to like just answer the question, you find the feeling first, and once you are in the feeling, then you ask your original question. But it's not. You see, state determines so much, and in my experience, many people in this life ask the big questions when they're not in the best state. And for me, that's like standing in a burning building and saying, I wonder how this fire started. No, you get the fuck out of the building first, and then you ask how the fire started. And so you gotta get out of the bad state, or the neutral state, even if it's not a bad state, if it's just a flat, neutral, meh kind of state, and find yourself any state, even if it's not the ideal state, but any state that you enjoy even a little bit. And then, but the thing is, when people are in a good state, because they don't want things to change, they don't ask the big questions and make the big decisions at that time. They're too busy having fun. But that's when you need to be making life choices, is when you're in a good state. Because people in good states make better choices, and people who are stressed make worse choices, and that's a fact. And that's kind of why I don't mean to be talking at you, Holly, or anything like that. I'm just trying to say it this way for emphasis for anybody listening. Okay, I just feel that if and even if the state is like accidental, even if you didn't on purpose go out searching for or trying to cultivate a state, the next time you feel good because you're with your friends, or you're hanging out, or you're doing something you enjoy, or you're laughing and you're playing and you're having fun and you just feel light and happy, make a life decision in that moment. Yes. Or ask your question again in that moment, and you will find that your mind gives you a whole different set of possibilities and answers than when you ask in a flat or negative kind of state. That's kind of what I have for that.
Good answer. Joshua.
Elijah, thank you for the clarification on that, brother. The asking in the upstate's definitely super helpful, because I wanted to ask you a refinement. Which if I understand where Holly's coming from, it's very similar to where I'm coming from. And Holly, the first thing I would offer to you is right now, just please know you're not alone. I know you know that, but I'm also going to tell you that, because I have not found that, the why, the what I'm doing. Never in my life have I found that. Like I haven't even found that to date, 43 years old. I'm going to be a nerd for a second. And there's this card game that some people know about called Magic the Gathering. And back when I was in high school, I would play it. And the deck of cards that I had the best affinity with was a green deck playing these fungus monsters. And the whole thing was every time it was your turn, you got to generate some counters, generate some new fungus monsters, get back some life, like do some direct damage. There was different things you could do with these fungus counters. And so the way to play against me was to make sure you keep the verge trimmed, right? But if I got to turn 10, you cannot defeat me, period, even if you had a board wipe. Right. And so strategy wise, when I play board games, it's much the same way. I'm that guy that nobody suspects, nobody knows exists. And then all of a sudden I'm winning and nobody understands how it happened. Right. If you see me moving, it's too late. But so I've just been operating according to strategy in my life. I have not been operating according to inner fire. I don't know if it's to say that I have sufficient discipline or sufficient rage or a combination of both that are playing a hell of a game of teeter-totter. But I move through life with an absolute conviction powered by one of those two things at any given point in time, but I've never found that why. And so and this now bouncing back to you, Elijah, one of the things that I would offer is the refinement in the question is, and I think you kind of hit it when you're saying in the upstate, but like, for example, I knew what I didn't want. And so I got to a place where basically I was getting rid of a lot of the things that were upsetting me. So I was basically like, I want peace is what I found out. Like, I want peace. But what I'm getting hemmed up by, because I don't have that guiding principle, or up until recently, good crowd of folks to talk to, mentors, is I basically was getting beaten to death by my desire for peace. Because as soon as somebody came in, like, let's say in the kind of a dating adjacent idea, and they had a bad day, I'm like, well, that violates my peace. You got to go. Right. And so that's also why earlier I had asked that question, which is like, what's a good, delineation between maybe somebody just has a bad day and, and so I basically in the pursuit of creating my why, what I was doing was creating another prison on the positive side of the line rather than the negative side. Right. So where it's like, I just can't deal with people that are going to interrupt my peace. Right. And so, it's always going to default to a natural frequency response, right? Like where if you push on a tree, the tree starts moving. And if you take your hands off the tree should stop moving, right? If it starts like going crazy, then you're in some kind of weird video game where the physics divide by zero. And then you end up with Gallop and Gertie, that bridge in Tacoma that went down, because they basically made a big wind sail, right? And so, if natural frequency be the thing, then each time that you try something, you're going to overcompensate, but you're going to overcompensate a little less. And I think that was also the nature of the question, is I'm trending towards a direction and I need to come back to center. It's like, what do I need to do in that moment to not, basically analysis paralysis myself into like another weird jump?
Good answer. Anybody else got anything to add to that?
Keep moving.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. When you stagnate and pause, couple things. One, the rest of the world does not stop and wait for you to come out of your pause. And I learned that the hard way. Right? I set myself back maybe 10, 15 years because I paused and took a moment that was a bit longer than I was hoping it would have been. Okay? And then I felt forever like I was playing catch up and trying to undo a mistake, which was my second mistake. But we can talk about that another time. Secondly, you can't course correct if you're standing still or staying stationary. Okay? At the very least, if you move, even if it turns out to be the wrong move, you'll find out something that doesn't work and have eliminated one possibility. And then you can try something else. Right? It's, David Snyder, who, is very into martial arts. I remember once in class he said, to fall 7 times, to rise 8, life starts now. And honestly, it doesn't matter if you mess up once or twice or 100,000 times. Just keep moving.
Yep, very much so. One thing I was going to add to this is the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek. If you haven't read that book, it's really good at clearing out how to sift through the fog and find a direction. And there's always that chance of paralysis by overanalysis, which the story of the horse, the mole and the boy, or something like that, and the boy says, "Well, I can't see the path," and the horse said, "Can you see the next step?" And the kid said, "Yeah." And the horse said, "Then take that." You don't have to be able to see everything that needs to be done to get where you want to be. As long as, Elijah said, you keep moving. One foot in front of the other, even if it's baby steps, you're still, at the end of the day, farther away or farther down the line than the person sitting on the couch. Elijah.
Another reason to keep moving is that you will, even if it turns out not to be, your golden path, your big why, your big, even if it's not directly linked, you will meet people and you will have exchanges, and you might learn something or discover something or be exposed to something that you did not know existed before. And you will not find that if you stay still. So by moving forward, you always have opportunity to find opportunity and discover something new. And so that becomes open to you. And there's always that chance that you might, like in some of the best stories I've heard, accidentally find it. And then when you look back, 10, 20 years later, you're like, well, it couldn't have happened any other way.
Yep. Joshua.
I love the volleyball. Love it. Elijah, this is great stuff. Thank you. I also wanted to offer this as this is kind of where I foul up a lot. And that's that energetically, and I'm going to tie this back into our dating conversation too. So like when we're sitting there at a date and how we interact with the other, it's the pressure we put on the outcome, right? So like one of the things that I'm currently practicing because I struggle with this, right? Like I don't have a why, right? Like, and TJ, please feel free to confirm. I was just speaking with TJ the other day about the idea of dating, right? Because a lot of people volunteer that for me and they're just like, I don't understand. You're such a great guy. You have all this stuff to offer. And I'm like, but you don't answer my question, right? And they're like, well, what? And I'm like, why would I want to date? Right. And so what I've done in the dating case is a while back, my uncle said something to me and I took that on, and using military parlance, I said to myself, I was like, I relieve you of the responsibility to date. If you end up dead and whatever, and you never had any kids and you didn't, have anybody or whatever else like that, you are still a good man. It does not matter. Like, the relationship does not define you. That's not the outcome, right? And same thing with business, right? There was a time I was homeless and the water that I got to drink came out of a can of green beans, right? And you're just sitting there and people are like, well, Josh, you're such a great guy. And you're like, well, goddamn, as I'm pulling this like RBs out of the trash can that somebody threw in there and, trying to figure out what I can take from that. I'm like, I don't really feel like I'm awesome, but okay. Yeah. So there's a part where of course we want to find the why, but because when, you look at like very successful people, what are they talking about? They're talking about living in purpose, and everybody's got their, dollar store solution for it or whatever. And it's just hard to kind of parse through all the information. But the first thing is I'm trying to do, and and I hope that this would be helpful, is to relieve yourself of the responsibility for the outcome. Just do. It's entirely possible that everything we do is failure or can fail. That's life, right? Think about, here's like for statistics, right? How many millions of animals never even make it to adulthood, right? Like humans included, right? Another statistic I heard, I don't know if it's necessarily true, but 40%, as theorized, 40% of men that have been alive, right, throughout the entirety of history never got to reproduce. 40%, nearly half of men did not ever get to reproduce, right? So it's like, as a man, everyone makes that like your thing, right? It's like, well, if you don't build a legacy, you're a piece of shit, right? You don't, if you're not building generational wealth, you're a piece of shit. Like all this stuff that they say, relieve yourself of that responsibility. The outcome will be what the outcome is. And the faster you learn to let go of the need around the outcome, and this, I'm speaking to myself as much as anybody who might be listening. When you relieve yourself of the responsibility for obtaining a certain outcome, you allow yourself to sort of fall right into that place, because you're not tight. Again, it's like if I'm going to dating, right? And I have this thing where as soon as she says something that's Democrat or Republican, I'm kicking the table over, right? Like she might have just heard somebody else saying something, right? I don't know why she said, but I've made the constraint so narrow that of course it's going to fail. And that's what I mean, is like letting go of that outcome so that you have more adaptability and movability, and you just work on those next steps, like what I need to take on, what do I need to let go.
Yep. Great stuff. And one of the squirrels also brought up something that Jordan Peterson had said, where he said, if you don't know what to do, do something. If you've got two paths to go down, don't stand there at the junction and go, and just sit there and sit there and sit there. Pick one of them. Even if you're going down that path and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, this ain't it. I should be over there. You wouldn't have had that perspective. You didn't have that perspective from back there. And so that's where there's, and of course it's hard to answer, general questions like this without being a little broad and non-specific, but for the people out there that are watching the recording or something, you're not alone. There are a ton of people that feel this way. Get a hold of people like the people that you see on on Triple T. Doesn't have to be me. It can be any of us. Go back to some of the other recordings. If you don't know how to get a hold of those people, contact me. I'll be happy to get you in touch with them. But I understand it because I've been there. And I think the more you talk, the more you'll find there are a lot of people that have been there at some point in their life. And they may look like they've got it all together. But there was a point in their life where they're just like, what? Why? What is this all about? Why am I doing this?
But
But when that answer shows up, it does tend to give you a path. The fog will lift. You will see something. You will find a place to go. Anybody else got anything they want to add to that? Or Holly, please.
I have a follow-up question. And by the way, thank you so much for these answers. They're absolutely amazing. Uh, Several people have talked about, keep moving, go, can you see the next step? I do have kind of when the fog lifts or that sort of thing. I do have a question of what happens when you not only can't see any next step, but also can't even see any possible next step. Feel like there are no paths. It's not like you're choosing between paths. There literally are no paths. The fog is so thick you just can't see anything. And you keep stepping around, but you feel like you're just going in circles or whatever, and you don't know why. And like, what is how do you find that next step when you can't see it?
Joshua.
Oh, it's so sudden. I wasn't ready. Well, so yeah, Holly, I spent up until I was 35 in that state. Because I haven't really talked about it, but like I am a child of abuse, and my abuse journey started at 1.5 and didn't stop until I made it stop on my bare freaking hands. So I spent a long time in a state of confusion because I would get told horrific things by people, right? So like I remember one time in a church, I had a senior elder pastor tell me that I don't tithe enough, present tense. And that is why I went through all the horrible stuff, past tense, right? I've been told I'm a man, I deserve it. I've been told I'm not ethnic enough to get help, and a bunch of other things. And I'm not trying to be the, pity party, but there's a certain, I was just talking about this to a friend of mine today who's going through some rough stuff, and I don't know if it'll be particularly helpful, but one aspect of it is being able to let go within the right context. So as a guy, the advice I would give to men is your life's going to really start beginning when you accept the fact that no one's going to save you. And not like that's the state you need to stay in, right? But like it's to start off with if I'm expecting someone else to come in and make this better, as the guy, like as the man, as we get older, what are we to do? Like, what's our purpose, right? Set an environment, set a container. And if your responsibility is to set the environment and set the container, and you're waiting for someone else to come do that for you, you're in a paradox. But wandering around in that state, what I would do is I rallied around 3 things, and it took being tortured for me to get to this place. But the 3 things that I learned, or that I started rallying around, was my ability to draw, my ability to fight, and my ability to model and simulate. And so every time that I reach I don't know what to do in the contextual frame of society, which by the way is where most of my questions come from. They're not, I don't offer them to Triple T as a bitterness or anything else. It's more of contextually speaking to the rest of humanity. I feel like Gonzo to the rest of y'all's Muppet Show. Right?
I love Gonzo.
Yeah, I do too, but I'm a whatever, right? And that's like, so when people ask me a lot of questions, well, what do you want? Like, what, blah, blah, and I'm like, what are the options? They're like, anything you want. Too much options, man. Too much options. I already, like, analysis paralysis has already got me. But whenever I get a good, solid ass kicking, however it comes to me, the first thing I do is I go back to those 3 things, right? Can I draw my way out of this? Can I fight my way out of this? Or can I model and simulate my way out of this? And let me tell you, Excel, but... And, as I've gone, I've learned a few other things to rally behind. One is surrounding yourself with people that know more than you do, right? Because then when you're confused or whatever, you can ask a good question, you can get some answers, and it may take a minute to incubate. The next thing would be is an activity, right? So if it's like going for a hike, if it's walking your dog, if it's drawing a picture, in my case right now, it's working out and 3D printing and also stock market, stuff. And then after that, you need, you look at what I recommend you do is look at Maslow's hierarchical pyramid of human needs, right? Because that's, why invent the wheel when someone else has got a wheel out there for you? And if you're worried about tier one, well, that's the first thing you got to solve. I got to get some shelter. I got to get some food and water. Like, okay, I got to need my resources set up. Then you worry about your security needs, and you worry about your belongingness needs, and then your educational needs, and then, a bunch of other stuff. And the thing I see a lot of us in the meditation mindfulness department get all hemmed up in is we try to be transcendental before we got tier one solved. So if you're worried about where your next sandwich is coming from, you don't need to be worried about the spiritual well-being of anybody else. You got to get that damn sandwich.
Yeah.
So find your rallying point. Remember, navigation requires three things. You got to know where you are, you got to know where you want to go, and you got to have that point of reference. So that point of reference would be your salvation there. Excuse me.
Great answers. Anybody else got anything to add to that?
I really like the idea of like doing an activity, physical movement of any kind, going for a walk in its simplest form, or if there's some kind of activity that you enjoy, playing tennis, going swimming, whatever, but some kind of physical movement, because believe me, I tried staying curled up and staying indoors, and that shit did not work. And I ended up staying, in a room for like a decade. And, anyway, yeah, physical movement, get out, get fresh air, anything. And you'll notice that at some point, if you're determined enough to keep on doing the physical movement, that at some point your mind will wander to other things that it didn't think of before, and you have to be a little bit tenacious in that regard. That I'm not gonna just sit here and feel sorry for myself. I'm gonna do something, even if I don't know what the something is. I'll just walk, I'll just listen to an audiobook, I'll just go for a swim, I'll just go out and get some fresh air, or I'll walk to the coffee shop and get a coffee, or I'll whatever. Maybe you like dogs, and maybe you just go to a park and see someone else. You don't have a dog, but you could see someone else walking the dog and just strike up a conversation. Oh, hey, what breed? What's the problem? Whatever. Anything. Just move. Physically move. Because there is a feedback loop. We all know this to some greater or lesser degree, that there is a mind-body feedback loop. Okay? And so if you move, if your mind is not moving and you feel stuck, move physically, and it will eventually get through that feedback loop, and your mind will start moving again and start thinking and start sending you ideas. So I really like that suggestion, Joshua, of doing some kind of activity, working out, whatever. And yeah, I like that a lot. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to add to this, and I apologize if I'm a bit off topic coming in so late again, my apologies. But yes, if your mind's stuck, physical moving gets your mind moving too. If you're mentally stuck with PTSD or shock or whatever, moving will definitely start getting that managed. Also, just counting. If you're really, really, really mind shut down, just the act of counting your breaths will get you past that freeze phase. But on a broader scale, when you don't know what's what and where's where and what you want, sometimes you just got to take a leap of faith and not have any idea where you're going to land. Because it's getting that movement happening, and taking a leap of faith when you don't know where the end point's going to be. It's high risk at times, but it certainly changes everything, and you can't stay the same because you're in midair and you're going to land somewhere.
Great answer. Anybody else got anything to add? And one thing that Fran brought up, breath work. Keeping track of your breathing and working on not only breathing but posture. Dr. David had talked about it a number of times and I've experienced it myself as well. You get clients that'll come in and they're depressed and all the above, and they have the body posture of depressed, curled over and slumped down. And Dr. David snapped his back straight, put his head up, and the guy was like, and he burst out laughing. He was like, what was that? Because your posture controls your emotions a lot as well. And I've been there. I've had those dark days and even those off days, and you catch yourself. You're walking around, you're slumped down, you're like, this sucks, that sucks, and everything sucks. And you realize that you're breathing really shallow, and you have to stand yourself up, open up your chest, walk prominent and full, and get air into your body. Michael.
First of all, Franny, girlfriend, you were never late. You were in Australia.
Yes.
Amazing.
Thank you.
You're awesome. Second is like the one lady who does the count backwards and go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And get up and do something. It's fantastic because then it tricks your brain into doing something, which is fantastic. Movement is fantastic. Joshua, you were correct as far as navigation. You got to know where you're at. You got to have a point of reference and point where you're going. Fantastic stuff. I mean, these are all important things. So keep on kicking.
Cool. Joshua, got your hand up?
Yes, sir. Now, this is as much a question as it is a statement, or at least something that I'm doing. So I'm going to preface it with a reference to the parable, which is, if you guys ever heard about white wolf or black wolf, and like, yeah, okay. So one thing I'm seeing a lot in mindfulness and meditation is everyone is basically like, you are whole when you have killed the shit out of black wolf. And they're basically like all white wolf, right? So, but they're like kindness on default. And this has caused me to look into myself a lot. I come from almost all black, right? And learning how to be somewhat white, right? And so one thing I would say in support of the continuing conversation, Miss Holly, is that I would ask what your relationship with anger is. Because my experience, most people think anger is something really bad. It is not. I'm gonna take a saying from somebody else and I'm gonna modify it accordingly. Anger is not evil. It tells you what your weaknesses are. When you know what your weaknesses are, you can become stronger and choose to be more kind. So anger is not your enemy. When you're in a collapse, it's a power supply. It's what keeps a star from collapsing into a black hole, is something called degeneracy pressure. And that's for when electrons merge with the proton counterparts and it becomes a neutron star and tries to squeeze down into nothingness, right? That energy to push back and maintain form. Anger is really good for that. So channeling it into different things is also very helpful. So sometimes, like if you're feeling really depressed, just pull out a pillow or something, go get you a tennis racket and give that fucking pillow hell. Like just straight pull, like try to reach your ground if you can, pull it up through your body and just channel it out through the arms, like straight into that. So, because sometimes hearing it, like when that tennis racket slaps the pillow, they're like, but it'll help move some of that stuff too. But what I'll do, for example, is like when I'm working out and I can kind of feel failure coming in, right? So as I've been working out ever since this surgery, I'm at week 7 now. I've gotten over half of my workouts are at least up to pre-injury level. and several more I've even exceeded. But like when I feel failure coming in my body, not like I'm in pain and I need to stop, but it's like the body is uncertain and I can feel my arm kind of like falling away. I'll tap into that anger, and I won't throw the weight, but I'll tap into the anger and stop stop that giving up response. And I'm like, no, and it's a reinforcement of will to live, right? So I've done it for so long now that when things start to collapse me down to the depression and giving up, I have that massive explosion response within my own system. That's like the scream, the primal scream of no, and then I do something, right? So like anger is your friend in that case too.
Great.
Definitely anger's your friend. It's a matter of listening to what's underneath it, because there's a heck of a lot of wisdom there. What's the reason for that anger? If you had a friend in trouble, angry, upset, hurt, you'd stop and listen to them and help them investigate what's underneath that. And we don't do that for ourselves enough. There's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of strength there, there's a lot of potential to repurpose whatever's going on underneath to channel it in a more useful way. Don't be afraid of your underworld. There's so much there that we just gloss over, refuse to look at, but that's where it's at. This is actually getting in touch with what you need.
Another great answer. Yes. Elijah.
I would say don't try and kill Black Wolf. Make peace with Black Wolf. Yeah. Integrate Black Wolf. Learn to love Black Wolf. And you see, we all have ugly parts of ourselves, right? That maybe we wish we didn't have. But to destroy them would be to destroy a part of yourself, and your unconscious mind will not have that, because it exists primarily, most likely, it's not 100%, but most likely it exists as some sort of survival mechanism, right? To protect you, you do have certain beliefs and do certain behaviors, and had to, in times of need, to survive, right? And so if anything, there is no blame or hatred or guilt. It's just actual gratitude for, thanks for helping me out when I really needed you in those tough times, right? But I don't need that anymore. I'm in a safer place now. And so you can kind of, and I know I'm saying it very nonchalantly and very kind of uptimey, but if you do this kind of work on a deeper, in a hypnotic kind of way, it's massively profound when you're able to forgive that part of yourself, right? You can't just love the soft middle part of the bread, okay? You need to love the crust too. You gotta love the crust too. And we all have our crusty bits, okay? And so what we really want, yeah, what we really want, what I want to get at with that whole Black Wolf comment is, it's not about getting rid of, but rather integrating into a whole.
There.
And what we have when we have our ugly parts, because we don't really want to show our ugly parts to people, so we hold them inside, right? And the ugly part has like a certain amount of energy, let's say an X amount of energy, right, to it. And in order to hold it inside and prevent it from coming to the surface, you would need to apply X plus 1 additional unit energy to safely hold it there and prevent it from coming to the surface. So when you eventually integrate it back and accept it, you actually get back 2x plus 1 energy. You get back twice as much, because you get back not only the energy of the what you thought was negative and bad, but you get back the energy that you've been using to hold it in this whole time. And it all comes, and the release is like, it's incredible. So that kind of work, it goes towards Carl Jung's, shadow work kind of thing, right? But there's 100 ways of doing it, maybe more. It doesn't have to be a certain specific technique or a school of thought. Ultimately, it comes down to forgiveness and acceptance and gratitude, and understanding that we did what we had to do to get through the tough time, and that's okay.
And if we would be as nice to ourselves as we are to other people, we'd
Yes.
be a lot further along the track.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. Joshua.
I just real quick. I like to collect. So it's probably going to flag under like the AI slop or whatever on YouTube, but I like to find like the motivational, like the 3 to 5 minute motivational videos that'll be done in a character's voice, right? So I don't know if you're like into Halo, like you might see a motivational video done in the Master Chief's voice, or like, I suppose it could be like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or pick somebody else that you really like.
Vegeta.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you know the
I got
ones, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I got 2 of them on there. But Guts is the one for me, right? From Berserk, because that's basically my autobiography, if anyone was curious. But there's one that this is what I wanted to say, is he says, you didn't survive because of your weakness. You survived because of your strength. That's the first thing you got to understand. You're standing here now. You're talking now. You're not here because you were weak. You're here because you have your strength. Because if you were weak, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You'd be probably pressing, continue at the you died screen.
Yeah, and damaged people are the most dangerous because they know how to survive.
Yes.
Yep.
The other thing that we often forget is when we look at what we think are our weaknesses, if you actually turn that coin over, they're your strengths. So look at the other way of looking at those aspects of yourself. If you just look at them in a different light, there's a lot of value and a lot of power there.
And if you understand the power of yin and yang, you can't have darkness without the light. You can't have, there's got to be balance. Like back to Jordan Peterson, when he said, every man should be able to be dangerous and be able to recognize that and be able to control it. Because if you are just a passive wimp and you say, well, I choose to be kind, that's not a choice. You have nothing but that. There's no testimony without the test. If you haven't gone through some stuff, how can you say that you understand what other people have done or what they're going through or all the above? Michael.
Along those lines, Fran, perception. Our brain only perceives like 17% of what's entered in at any one time because we can only process so much. And we find what we look for. And so that all starts with your inner belief. Well, hey, I've got this bad, but it's actually a good. And you'll find what you look for. So I look for the good. I look for the parking spot. I look for the wins, and I find. So I love it.
That's why I constantly tell my clients and my students my quote of, in the quantum of possibilities, best case scenario has just as much probability as worst case scenario. The one that you will find the most is the one that you look for and feed the most energy to.
It's just a matter of attention. Are you paying attention to what you want or what you don't want? That's where the energy is flowing.
And unfortunately, life, society, programming, evolution, all the above has trained us to be weighted for worst case scenario so that when we're walking down the trail, it was much better to mistake a stick for a snake than to mistake a snake for a stick. And so, yes, we are naturally predominantly worst case scenario weighted.
It's like a cat and a cucumber.
Yes, yes. And so we have to exercise that muscle to see the good, to understand that there is the good out there. Because it's very easy to put it on autopilot and be in the mode of seeing everything as negative.
And I think another aspect of all this that's sort of kind of come up is being able to forgive yourself or being willing to begin to forgive yourself. Forgiveness of self is a huge thing that sort of gets in the way of turning these weaknesses over and making them strengths. And with the stick and the snake, I went to pick up my garden hose a few years ago, and it moved. There was a snake that was absolutely identical color to my garden snake. That gave me a surprise.
Well, and where you guys live, everything's trying to kill you. So, I mean,
You've got just as many, but they're different.
yeah,
We're used to ours.
now I've seen the statistics. Where are most of the most deadly snakes on the planet?
Yeah, but where are the most snake bites? That's different.
Yeah, but where are the most deadly snakes? Where are the most deadly spiders? Where are the most everything that'll kill you?
In
Australia.
the sea. In the sea.
I see it in Australia.
But the best part is, Fran, you're there, which makes it all worthwhile. So, yes.
And if anybody's going to save you, it's going to be Fran.
Yes. All right, kids. Well, 3 minis left. How do we, how you guys want to finish her out? Any more ahas, epiphanies on any of the things
Yes.
we've,
I'm going to say white on white writing on your computer if you can. Change your font to white. Start talking to those angry bits, those unhappy bits, those upset bits. Just allow them to flow through your fingers when you're not paying attention and just type if you can for 20 minutes. And then make sure your fingers are on the right keys first, otherwise it's really hard to understand. But then change your font back to black and read what you've written. There, if you just let it flow, there will be some interesting stuff there that you didn't realize that you thought.
great protocol. Great protocol.
And if it's really a lot of
Here, what are we going to do?
crazy negative stuff that comes out in that exercise, print it
Place.
and safely burn it and watch it burn. Right? Maybe in a sink or in a bathtub or somewhere where you know you're not gonna, don't burn down your house, and be careful of the shower curtain and all that stuff, right? Be careful, okay? No, listen, we take no responsibility for accidents in your home, okay? But like seriously, I've done this exercise where I didn't do it with the white on white, which I really like actually. I'm gonna try it myself. But I did it with just pen and paper, and I was just writing down everything that came in my head. And I realized that it was a lot of, negativity and anger in what I was writing. And so I tore the paper out of the pad and I burned it. And the release I felt watching it burn was just incredible. It was like, wow, it kind of had this visceral release effect on my body that I could feel. And I really enjoyed that. So
if you want to power that up, tell it to somebody else to the point where you actually start laughing. If you say it over and over, all these tragedies about your life, and you keep repeating it to somebody and telling your tragic story to somebody else, you'll end up rolling on the ground laughing eventually. And that's another really cool way of getting rid, dealing with it, letting it go.
Yep. Also understanding that one person's 10 is another person's 3, and one person's 3 is another person's 10. Don't let people say, well, what you're going through, that's nothing. If it's your 10, it's your 10. If you're listening to somebody else that is saying, I don't know how to deal with this, and you're like, been through it 100 times. That's their 10, even though it's your 3. We're all here to help each other out. This human experience that we're playing with, there's no owner's manual. It's all full of interesting stuff. And as long as we're learning, living.
And it's such a privilege to have this body to experiment and learn in.
And doing the best we can. And that brought us right up to the top of the hour. If there's anybody out there that you know that's going through stuff like this, send them this video. Share it with them. It's free. I'm not doing this I want to help as many people as possible. Have them reach out to any of us that are on the call. But until then, in case, again, if you've gotten to the end, thank you so much. For those of you that showed up and gave up part of your amazing time that I cannot reproduce and give back to you, thank you so much. If you came in late and you're wondering why I look like a character out of some type of horror movie, I'm in Las Vegas and I'm in one of our meeting rooms under horrific light. Yes, my eyes are not black. But next week I'll be back home. You'll get to see the me you've known for 185 sessions. And I hope to see every one of you back here. I love you all. Have an amazing week. Till then. Oh, and I almost forgot. Love you, Mom. See you guys.
Have a great day, everybody. Talk to y'all later.